Hello everybody, this is my new project. It came about by me wondering what I could do with the zip ties that I'd collected over the years. I use them for tying down deck furniture, supporting plants, and putting up Christmas decorations. I knew the first thing I had to do was cut them up. I tried a number of different tools, and the best option I came up with was using a paper cutter. I actually bought it online locally, and it ended up working fairly well. Definitely faster and easier on the wrist. And my husband found a good use for it on Mother's Day. Isn't he sweet? But at this point I had no idea what I was getting myself into. And as thrilled as I was with all those tiny little diamond shapes, I still didn't know what I was going to do with them. And one day it came to me, how about a bird murmuration? I made a test on a previous painting of mine, and here's the result of 3 hours of mixing my paint colors. And I did a little test to see how the gluing part would work. And getting out of my comfort zone, I chose the largest canvas I've ever painted on, 3 feet by 6 feet. After all, birds do like a big sky, don't they? Then my husband and I went on a little vacation with our family in Quebec. Finally back at home, I began to paint my sky. I didn't want it to be too contrasty, and I didn't want to have a lot of texture on it. Blending with acrylics is very challenging, especially on a large canvas. And after about 3 weeks, my dusk sky was finished. I'd sketched quite a few options for possible bird formations, and then I just went to playing. If you've Googled bird murmurations, and you should, because they are magnificent. They come in many shapes and sizes, but I wanted to find something appropriate for this size canvas. Now, I was trying to find ways here to scatter the birds. There was no way I was going to place those little 10,000 pieces of plastic one at a time. That would be ridiculous, wouldn't it?
I think I might have to sort through these to find all the smallest pieces. I spend years collecting zip ties, and then I spend weeks and weeks cutting them up. Look how many I made. I can't believe how I misjudged that. I think I need a canvas that's 30 feet by 60 feet. Turns out I have a lifetime supply. My decision has been made. I am going to separate the big pieces from the little pieces.
And whatever falls on the floor, I'm not going to pick them up because look how many I have.
Yeah, so here I am sorting the large from the medium from the small. And I think I have created a monster project for myself. And yes, I actually counted the pieces in this little glass, 2,500. So 10,000 is my estimate. And then we had a nice break at a cottage on the Nova Scotian coast. Nova Scotia is so beautiful. I finally decided on a formation of murmuration that I had seen, and I just kind of adapted it a little bit. So I actually spray glued this portion down, believe it or not. What was I finished? Was I close to being finished?
Fortunately, the glue that I'm using, spray glue, is working ideally, because if I had used acrylic varnish like I normally do, I would be stuck. This would be all stuck down and I would be in trouble. Oh, but this thing is so big. Oops. Let's see if we can get... Anyway, oops. Oh, anything I touch seems to want to follow a pattern. And I'm trying to be random.
Yeah, there was no way I was going to lay these down one at a time, right? I just wasn't happy with what was happening right there. Yeah, okay. I'm laying these 10,000 pieces down one at a time. And this is now where I speed up my time lapse to make this year-long project fit into a few minutes of video. I really liked the idea of the swirls. They allowed me to control the density of birds. And at the same time, I'm scraping off the previous pieces that I had already glued down.
The only way I stay encouraged when I look at this mess is focus on what I'm doing. One swirl at a time. I make maybe anywhere from 2 to 5 a day. Spray them down with some of this. They kind of make me happy. So that's how I keep going, even though I have a lot ahead of me.
Here I'm working on the upper portion for a change of pace. Larger pieces, larger swirls. And then in order to make areas more dense, I had to cut the pieces even smaller.
So these pieces are tiny, and I'm having to cut them. I'm cutting some of those large pieces there, well, larger pieces, into tiny, tiny little pieces so that I can block up some of the gaps that I have made that I don't want anymore.
And autumn has arrived in Nova Scotia. It's October 26, 2024. I do take a lot of breaks, but here I am working away, trying to make larger swirls of birds to make it appear as though they're farther apart. I'm still scraping off debris, as I call it now, to make room for more swirling. The process is the same over and over. Scrape off the old stuff, lay down the new stuff, and spray it down. Rinse and repeat. It was more challenging than I thought it would be to create the impression of a dense mass of birds flowing into a gradual less dense mass. Starlings, by the way, are the masters of murmuration. They're known best for their flocking in Europe. In the meantime, outside, we had construction going on in the backyard. There's a new neighborhood that was being built, and the forest was taken down, and we were not happy about it, but what can you do? And then I took a break to make my granddaughter a stuffed toy and decorate for Christmas 2024. Look at the snow we had on Christmas Day. And I'm back at it in the new year, trying to make my swirls as neatly as possible. Here you can see I used a different pattern.
All right, I decided it was time for a step back and look at what I've got view. So I've been hanging on this for a long time, and doesn't look like I've done much yet, but I see that the dark patch in the middle, as much as I love the pattern, it's going to be about it for the darkness. It's going to have to get lighter.
A large part of this has not been yet glued down, so I thought I'd take a break and glue it down so as to not take a chance of it being disturbed if I bumped it.
Me taking off the pieces that I have put on. What else is new? What else is new in experimental art? My last thought was give it up completely. And I tried and tried and tried to think about giving that up, giving this up, and I thought, my goal is always to, no matter what, try to make something that's not beautiful, beautiful. So I know these zip ties can become something beautiful. All to say that this has been a year-long project, and I have let it sit for quite a few weeks here and there, probably totaling up a few months, because of frustration, because I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to go. So before I trash the whole thing, now it's like I have nothing to lose.
And here you can see the results of my nitpicking. At this point, there's still a lot that has not been glued down, but I started painting the lower birds because I wanted to push them back visually. And you can see how that was successful. And remember what you see, because it won't be there long.
Just a little video of my disaster. I was working up in that corner earlier today, and I had my big stick over the edge there, kind of precariously. Well, I hadn't glued anything for about 4 weeks. I was like, last night I thought, maybe I should spritz a little bit. Well, I slapped that board down on the canvas somehow, and look, it's all been disheveled. Oh, that area. And this area, everything basically that was still loose. And then that area didn't get quite as much. Well, look, it's still quite disturbed everywhere. Disturbed. So, yeah, just letting you know video. And just yesterday I was taking pictures of how it was coming along, and maybe I'm almost done. Well, see you later.
I don't know if I was able to get the same shape that I had before the disaster, but I don't know, maybe it turned out better. I don't know. It seems I didn't have as much patience the second time around. But anyway, it ended up being what it ended up being. Here, over a year since I started, you can see how it looks just after I glued the rest of the pieces down. But wait for it, it ain't over until it's over.
So I have used up all of my little zip tie diamonds. Now I'm trying to reclaim the ones that I put on this little painting here for. So I'm trying to get these back so I can add them to my large canvas, and I'm soaking them in rubbing alcohol.
It had 2 layers of glue, the E6000 spray glue and the acrylic varnish, so they did not come off easy. And when I needed a break, I went outside and watched the construction. Strangely, a peaceful activity.
Oh, that's quite blue and quite light, but it does get a few values darker, this acrylic paint, when it dries. So if I don't like it when it dries, if it's not dark enough, I will just redo it. Big deal. 14 years. I can take some time. So this is where I am on this piece. I think I have glued down everything I'm going to glue down. Now I'm going to try to create a little bit of distance in the pieces by painting the ones that I want to disappear a little bit. Now I'm kind of having to remix some colors and get close to the color that I want. This is the job that never ends. It goes on and on, my friend. Just
I had attempted to do a little bit of rolling of paint, but that didn't work very well because the pieces are different thicknesses. So I pretty well had to paint every one of them, making sure that I didn't touch my background skyscape. Here I'm marking stragglers that fell off when I put the painting upright. So I had to replace them and repaint them. And here I'm painting the other cloud of birds that are flying in for the evening. June is our most beautiful time of year, in my garden anyway. So here we are, flower time again. 2 springs since I began this painting.
I'm finished. Maybe one more coat of varnish, but it is definitely a changing beast.
And another thing I'd like to say is I was not really content with this painting. I didn't think it was finished, so I set it aside. I put it up in the living room, and one day a friend came over and we were talking, and she happened to be looking at this piece which was in the living room, leaning against a cupboard, and I asked her what she thought, and she absolutely loved it. And she said it looks like 2 kissing birds. And she just raved about it, and it made me feel so good. It made me feel like it was finished, and now that's why I call it The Kiss. Well, thank you for watching, and I sure hope I made you smile. And if you liked my video, please give me a big thumbs up and subscribe down below. Bye for now.